A new study finds that prospective teachers are more likely to interpret the facial expressions of black boys and girls as being angry, even when they're not. And this is significantly different than how the prospective teachers interpreted the facial expressions of white children. The authors coined the term racialized anger bias after an earlier study found similar results in prospective teachers' judgments of black and white adults. Joining us now to talk more about this term is Dr. Amy Halberstadt, professor of psychology at North Carolina State University. Welcome to BNC Prime.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
Well, can you please explain to us what racialized anger bias is?
It's the perception that anger is there when it's not. Seeing anger in people who are not feeling it.
What effect could this have on black children in classrooms?
Oh, I can think of three big concerns that I have. One is we know that black children receive suspensions and expulsions in school 3 times as often as white children. And one issue there may be that teachers are seeing anger in black children. They respond to it or they react to it. The black child says, I wasn't doing anything. And off we go with a cascade that leads to a disciplinary action. So that's number one. Number two, the teacher is a very important person for children, and the connection between child and teacher is very important. So for a child who begins to get the sense that that teacher doesn't understand his or her emotions, there's going to be a distance that begins to develop over time. And so children may not feel as welcome in school or may not feel like school is as much for them when they don't have a very solid, good student-teacher relationship. And then third, what happens to a child's identity and a sense of something just not quite being right? And children don't know what's happening, so they can begin to internalize that there's something about them that isn't working in the student-teacher relationship.
Why do the teachers think the kids are angry?
Well, I would say it has to do, this is not in the study, but what I believe is that it has to do with American culture. We have a very long history of perpetrating a fear of African American people that goes back centuries. And that's in our media, it's in our culture, it's part of what's going on is systemic racism. So I think that people are not aware that they're responding in that fearful way to adults or children.
Could this study also help explain the issue between African Americans and police?
You bet it could. That was how I started the research, was thinking about the police brutality, and this is going back over a decade, as you know. This is a continuing problem. And I know a lot about emotion and emotion expression, and I was trying to think about how to match that with some of the social justice and racial justice issues that were going on. And so I started to think about, why do people see black people, why do white people and sometimes black people see black people as angry when they're not? And that is how the research actually began.
What do you think can be done to help remove anger bias against black children?
I think the first thing is for people to be aware. People do not realize that they have racialized anger bias, and we've seen it now in multiple studies, so I'm pretty confident that it exists. It doesn't happen all the time, but we are all possibly prey to it. So the first thing is to be aware, and then the second thing is to pull back, and I think this is really hard for teachers to do when they have 25 to 30 children in the classroom, lots of things going on, but to pull back for a moment and say, is this happening in the child? Or is this something that I'm assuming is going on?
If you're a parent and you think that your child perhaps is being misread or misinterpreted, should you confront the teacher or talk to them about it?
Well, confronting might not be the right way to go about it, but I think presenting the data, presenting the concern, listening to the teacher, and also asking the teacher to listen to the child. I try to build a little bit of trust first and then go after the issue to the best that one can.
All right, well, thank you. Very interesting study, Dr. Amy Halberstadt. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. I also want to just give a big shout out to the foundation that believes in racial equity, is committed to this kind of research. That's William T. Grant Foundation, and also the many people who participated in this research, my colleagues and my students, and all of the participants. So,
is it online?
Thanks. It is online now, yes.
Where can you get that?
You can look for it under my name and Racial Anger Bias. I think you'll be able to find it now, and we will work very hard to make sure it's available.
All right, North Carolina State University. Thank you so much.
Yes.
We appreciate your time.
Thank you.